Hi, I'm Belldon Colme with Fat Free with Me. You may have watched our previous video where we showed you how to season a wok, and today we want to teach you how to cook a simple wok dish that's both delicious, nutritious, and very filling and satisfying at the same time. We're going to make this particular dish with cubed chicken, kale, fresh broccoli, onion, garlic, and soy sauce. Now, I get asked a lot with the Fat Free With Me program how we can cook without oil, especially how we can cook in a wok without oil. And part of the secret is the seasoning that we did on this particular wok yesterday, which has given us the black and brown patina inside. And I'll also show you how we use liquid so that we can make the dishes perfect without the use of any oil at all. So let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put some liquid into the wok, and for this we're going to use 2.5 tablespoons of soy sauce, and we're going to use just a splash of a clean hot sauce. And what I mean by a clean hot sauce is you want a sauce that has only hot peppers, vinegar, and maybe salt. You don't want any other ingredients in your hot sauce. I'm only putting just a touch because we want flavor, not necessarily heat in this particular dish. Once we get the liquid in, I'm going to set the burner on medium-high. If you're on an electric oven, it's going to take a little longer to heat up, and gas, it'll heat up pretty quickly. Now, as we mentioned before, when we did the wok seasoning, a wok is designed to transfer heat very, very rapidly. So it's going to heat up fast, and we'll have the soy sauce in the bottom boiling in just a couple of minutes, maybe even less. You don't want to let it boil. As soon as it starts to bubble, you want to start getting your ingredients into the wok and start the cooking process. Now, while it's heating up, let me explain. What we're doing today, I don't want you to think of it as a recipe. I want you to think of it more as a method of cooking. It'll work with any meat, any vegetable combination that you want, and experiment and play with different greens, different vegetables, green beans, broccoli, kale, mustard greens, dandelion greens. Experiment with different combinations because there's a literally limitless variety of things that you can do using this exact method, just a very few ingredients, and you'll have a dish fit for company. You'll see that our soy sauce is already bubbling, so we're going to go ahead and drop our onion in at this point. And we're going to put in just about a level tablespoon of minced garlic. I actually cheat on my garlic and I buy it already minced because who wants to spend all of that time, right? Now, the trick with wok cooking is you want to have it moving, especially your vegetables, at all times. If you let them sit, your vegetables will start to burn, some more sensitively than others. But the idea is very high heat and constant motion. If you're not hearing a little sizzle as you do this, you want to turn your heat up a little higher. But as I mentioned, you don't want to leave it boiling, so if it gets too hot, you want to watch that heat and monitor it closely. We're going to keep our onions moving just until they start to become translucent. Now, I'd like you to look at the time on this particular video and how long it plays, because we're going to do this particular demonstration in real time. I want you to see how quick and easy wok cooking is, how little time it really takes to put out delicious food for your family. I did a little bit of prep ahead of time, and in wok cooking especially, I recommend that you cut all of your ingredients ahead of time. Wok cooking goes pretty fast, and you're not going to have time to do the cutting while you're doing it. It also gives you an opportunity to clean your kitchen up a little bit, rinse off your knives, rinse off your dishes, cutting board, put them back away. A clean kitchen is a much more wonderful place to work than a dirty kitchen is. When we reach the point that our onions are starting to be translucent, and you can see our onions are just starting to reach that point right now, that's when you're going to want to put your meat in the recipe. Now, you're going to cube your meat, chicken in this case. You can use pork loin, beef, any meat that you want. Even prawns are delicious. We'll cube our meat in about 3/4 inch sections. We're going to drop that in here. Now, you notice at this point, partly because of the constant motion and partly because we started with liquid in the bottom of the wok already, we haven't had any sticking in the wok at all, none whatsoever. And everything's been moving fantastically. It's kind of a misnomer that oil is required in cooking. there's two things we explain when you join the fat-free program that have to do with fats. One is Fat-Free with me is not a no-fat program, not even a low-fat program. Meats naturally contain a certain amount of oil, as do other foods. And you'll see as we go here that that starts to get released, and the liquid in our pan, not only from the oils in the meat, but also from water in the meat, our liquid is going to expand as we go. It's also a misnomer that the body needs to have added oils. We don't. Through the history of mankind, roasting was a far more common method of cooking than frying was. It had no added oils. It relied only on the oils in the meat or the food being cooked. And that's how the human body is developed and designed to handle oils in that quantity. And that's exactly what we're doing here in this style of cooking. Now, you're going to reach a point where we're going to let it sit and not keep it in motion, because on your meat, you want it to cook all the way through. So while we're letting this side cook, I'm going to take first our broccoli, and I'm going to run it over to the microwave. This is fresh broccoli, fresh cut. If you throw it into a stir fry, it's going to come out very hard on the other side. You're probably going to want to soften it a little bit, and what we're going to do is steam it in the microwave. Now, you don't have to add water to it. All we're going to do is put a loose-fitting cover over the top. We're going to microwave this for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and that'll give it just the really nice rich green. It'll bring out the flavors. It won't make it soft, but it'll make it so that it's not hard. I'm going to pop this in the microwave. I'll be right back. Okay, while that's cooking, we're going to go ahead and keep stirring our meat here. You can see how the meat's starting to get done on the one side already. It'll cook very, very fast because the heat's so high. You can hear that nice sizzle going on. When we get to this point, when our meat is about halfway cooked, we're going to go ahead and apply our seasoning now. Some people wait and apply the seasoning after the vegetables go in. I really prefer to get it at this point because there's a sauce developing in the bottom of the oils and the other liquids in the meat, as well as the soy sauce that we put in. If you get the seasoning in that sauce, it's going to wrap itself and envelop all the other ingredients that we put in. If you put your seasonings in too late, you're going to season the vegetables, but you're going to get a really strong salty taste instead of the really nice subtle flavor that's going to develop if we put it in now. So we're going to start with fresh ground black pepper. You don't want to overdo it, but you do want to see that you've got an adequate amount covering it. And then salt. Now I'm going to over season it. If I was just having the meat, this would be too much salt. But we're going to add the vegetables later, so we want it to be able to distribute throughout the entire dish. Now, you can experiment with other seasonings at this point. Many people enjoy curry powder, a little bit of hot pepper or paprika. Paprika gives a really nice redness to the sauce when you serve the final dish. Again, go ahead and experiment. However, I recommend you stick with single ingredient spices as opposed to spice mixes. Spice mixes like Montreal steak seasoning and others, they tend to contain added ingredients that you don't want. Anti-caking agents that are usually silicone and other chemicals, as well as added sugars that you really don't want to be adding to your final dish. Now, we just seasoned this wok yesterday. It's a fresh wok. I like to cook with tomatoes and other acidic ingredients. In a freshly seasoned wok, you don't want to do that because when your seasoning is new, the acids can strip the seasoning back off your wok again during cooking. You want to avoid that until you've had your wok and used it extensively for at least 3 to 4 months. You can see now how the chicken is completely done on the outside. We're going to give it just a couple more minutes to make sure that that heat goes through. I just heard the beeper on the microwave, so we'll put on the oven glove and we'll go get the broccoli out of the microwave. You can see how the broccoli now is just a brilliant, vibrant green, and the flavors are really, really amazing at this point in time too. We're also going to microwave the kale, not so much because we have to, but because the flavor of greens changes as they get cooked. And the more you cook them, the more that flavor will change. We're going to put the kale in the microwave for 90 seconds, a minute and a half, because that's just the right amount to bring out the sweetness of kale and take away some of the bitterness that you have when you eat the green just this way. So I'm going to pop this in the microwave. All right, while that's cooking, we're going to go ahead and finish up the chicken. Now right now I'm just going to take one of my cubes and I'm going to cut right through it with my spatula. Yep, it's done all the way through, white to the core. You do not want chicken to be underdone. Beef and pork can both be slightly pink in the middle at this stage, but chicken, you're going to want it done all the way. So now we're going to add in our broccoli. We're going to toss that around a bit. We're going to let those flavors get all settled in while we wait for our kale in the microwave. And at this point, now that the chicken is done, you want to keep it in motion again all the time. A wok, more than anything else, keeps you in touch with your cooking and gives you a very close connection to it just because of this process of always having your food in motion. All right, we're going to go grab our kale. I'll be right back. Now you can see, like with the broccoli, the steaming process gives it a very vibrant color. You know when you overcook a vegetable because that vibrant color starts to go away and it begins to turn gray, and you know you've really overdone it at that point. You'll also notice that the kale was heaped up very high before I put it into the microwave. That was 6 cups of kale, and it's already begun to reduce just with the microwave steaming. And as we cook it into the wok, it's going to reduce just a little bit more. At this stage, all we want to do is mix the kale thoroughly into the dish. We don't want to cook it anymore. And as we do so, the kale is going to reduce more to where the 6 cups we initially started with will be about 2 cups of kale in the finished dish. That's going to allow the chicken to still be the primary ingredient. It'll make a very pleasing looking dish. Now, when we're all done, this is what we have. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off to the oven now. This is what we have. It's attractive, it's appetizing, it tastes delicious, and when you serve it, this is actually the right quantity for 2 people. One of the strong misconceptions about any weight reduction program is that you're going to go hungry. If you cook properly and you cook the right foods, that's simply not the case. I've never found 2 people that were able to eat this in its entirety. In fact, we'll probably divide this between 4 of us in the family tonight and eat it that way. But this is enough for the right amount for 2 people, so no worries about going hungry. I'm going to go ahead and transfer this into a serving bowl, and I'm going to show you the final step of the cooking process. Now what I'd like you to do right now, at the bottom of the YouTube video screen, there's a clock that tells you how far we've gone and how far is left on this video. Just take a little look and see how quickly this dish cooked up. Now yes, I did a little bit of prep time ahead of time. That prep time took me about 10 minutes to cut my vegetables up and prepare them and get them into the bowls for cooking. But you can see how very fast this method of cooking is. Now we're going to go over and do the last step. When you cook with a wok, you always want to clean your wok while it's still a little bit hot. Now you can see we have no issues with sticking whatsoever, even though we used no oil in the dish. So what we're going to do right now is, while it's warm and easy to clean, now bear in mind, the cleaning process gets harder as your wok cools. We're going to go ahead and clean it just with clear water and a cellulose sponge. I'm not adding any soap except for the soap that was already in the sponge from using it previously. With the carbon steel wok, you always want to dry it right away. Now the next thing that we're going to do will both make sure that it's completely dry and won't rust, and also aids in the seasoning process. We're going to turn the heat back on again. We're going to go to medium this time. We're going to heat the wok up one more time. It looks like I spilled a little hot sauce. One thing that's the worst about cleaning or working in a kitchen and cooking is the cleaning process. However, you'll find if you clean as you go and you don't allow things to become messy, you're going to find that that process is a lot easier. Cleaning after you eat is the worst thing, because when are you most lazy? Right after you eat, right? If you clean as you go, then you don't have to worry about that later, and cooking in your kitchen can actually be fun. So while this heats up, I'm going to go ahead and gather up the dishes that I used to prep my ingredients in. I'll put those in the sink and get a little water in them. And if we weren't on camera, I would go ahead and put those into the dishwasher and be completely done with the cleanup in the kitchen at this point. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put a small amount of oil into the wok. You don't want a lot, you just want a small one. While that heats up, I'm going to grab a napkin. With my napkin, I'm going to take a pair of tongs. Use tongs. Like I said, a wok is very hot and you don't want to put your hand in there. I'm just going to wipe the oil around the sides of the wok while it's hot. However, I'm not going to leave any residue. I'm going to go ahead and turn that napkin over, and I'm going to dry the wok out. Now what this process does is, as you cook in a wok and it gets hot, it opens up the pores in the steel, much the same way you would open up pores in your skin when you take a shower. We're just putting oil into those pores of the wok, and as soon as it starts to smoke like this, you want to go ahead and turn your heat off, and then just wipe out the oil in the wok. Then as the wok cools down, it seals that oil into the pores, which is what the seasoning process is. Now if you look inside, there's no runny oil. The next time you use the wok, it's ready to be used with its nonstick surface without the need for oil. Yet by doing this oil process at the end of each use, you continue to thicken the patina of your wok and make it better and better and better over time. That's all there is to it, folks. I'm Belldon Colme with Fat Free with Me. We'll look forward to seeing you in our next video.